This is Angelo Pizzolo, manager of the Oral History Program with the Battleship New Jersey in Camden, New Jersey. Today is Tuesday, December 7th, 2021. We're on board the Battleship New Jersey, and our interview guest is Michael Mitchell from Massillon, Ohio. Mr. Mitchell served on board USS New Jersey from 1984 to 1986 as a boatswain's mate. Welcome home, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you.
All right. What is your current age?
58.
And when did you enlist?
It was actually 1981, I believe it was in June. My dad signed me up on a delayed entry program in Massillon, Ohio. And then my first duty was when I graduated from Massillon High School, June 1982. June 13th is when I went in.
Okay. I will ask you to remove your hat just so we can see you there. All right. Thank you. All right. So what was your inspiration for joining the Navy?
Basically, I seen a lot of World War II documentaries about, what our Navy did in World War II, and that kind of inspired me. And then the travel aspect of it, where you could join the Navy and see the world. That's what I wanted to do, get out of Massillon, Ohio.
All right. And when you actually enlisted, how old were you?
17.
All right. Now, let's go from the time you decide to join the Navy up to the time before you depart for boot camp. What was you'd already mentioned delayed entry, so talk about that process a little more.
Basically, I guess it was a Navy regulation or something that if you wanted to sign up early, you could, as long as your parents approved it. And that's what my dad did, because he knew I always wanted to be in the Navy. And so that's what I did.
So from your hometown, where did you go to do all of your initial in-processing before boot camp?
Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
At the federal building there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And after that, once you swore in, did you depart straight for boot camp?
I believe. But maybe a month delayed, but it was around, I believe it was around October 82 when I left Massillon, Ohio, and I took the train, from what I remember, to Great Lakes, Illinois.
All right, so you really didn't have that far to go.
No.
All right. And yes, anytime you can, just use a month and year to give us a timeline perspective. Mm-hmm. That would be, I apologize, I forgot to mention that before the tape ran. Okay. All right, so you mentioned you went to Great Lakes in October of 82, correct?
Yeah.
All right, so describe your experiences at boot camp. Anything you can remember?
About daily inspections, personnel inspections, where they made sure you was clean and shaven and ship shape, you could say. And about our bunks, they wanted to, our lockers, certain areas, the way they want it set up. And that's what I remember the most. And then the marching we did, for graduation, with the guns, the rifles. That was pretty awesome. Mm-hmm.
Were you part of the drill team during graduation?
No, I don't think I was. I just can't recall. But it was everybody in my company, and the name of my company is 140, off what I recall. Mm-hmm. And we just marched in the procession, when we graduated.
Oh, okay.
With guns. I guess they taught us how to do it, carry rifles and in formation.
All right. Did any family attend your graduation day from boot camp?
Yeah, I believe my dad did. And maybe my brother, but he was 2 years younger than me, so I don't recall, but all I remember is my dad.
All right. Any other experiences from boot camp you care to share?
He basically taught me to, pay attention to detail and you know, respecting people, you know, that's what I.
All right. Now, did you go to any A school or advanced training after boot?
From what I remember, they did send me to, I think it was overseas, dude. When I was, my first ship I was going to, we had to do some kind of a firefighting training, what I remember.
Okay.
In case we were called to do that on the ship.
Mm-hmm. And what was the first ship you served on?
USS White Plains, combat storage ship.
All right.
She's nicknamed the Orient Express.
All right. And that was the designation?
Japan.
Right. Was the designation, I want to make sure I'm reading this correct. The designation was AFS4?
Yep.
Okay.
Because there were 6 ships that was in that classification, combat storage ship. So what we did was resupply the whole carrier battle groups, you know, underway replenishment, giving them mail. You know, when they had mail call, we'd be delivering the mail from the ports when we got the supplies.
Oh, okay.
Very important job.
Sure. What was your specific duty on board?
I was a seaman recruit, so basically I did the dirty work, and what they told me to do, I had to do.
Do you remember some of those duties?
Like chipping, painting, you know, like the term they would say, haze gray and underway, which seems like we was always painting our ship, you know, when we docked in our first home port for work duty, and then, you know, regular seamanship duty, you know, what we had to do, train, you know, let's see, the word I'm trying to say, but like to keep the ship safe, you know.
Mm-hmm. And what about general quarters or watch? Well, let's cover watch stations first. What were some of your watch stations?
I was a helmsman, and I drove the ship, and then I was a fantail lookout. I was right bow and port lookout, and
what did that entail? What was your responsibilities?
we had to get up at all hours of the night, you know. So most of the time they let you sleep 7 hours, and then you get called on. But it's just basically watching out for small boats and things that would come in our pathway.
All right.
So it's like all hours of the night, because we had to do graveyard shift and early in the morning, late at night, you know, round the clock, basically.
All right. Any other watch stations during that time?
Lifeguard, like lifeboat. If we had to man the lifeboats, release them, then we'd have that duty to do.
Mm-hmm. All right. What about general quarters? What were some of your stations for general quarters on?
Well, my first ship, I was in the ammunition room of our 5-inch turret that we had on the ship. So.
Okay. Yeah, we're strictly talking about your
AFS4.
Yeah, we're strictly talking about that.
Yeah, that was what I did, was ammunition handling.
Mm-hmm.
When they fired the guns, the 5-inch gun, because we only had one 5-inch gun on our ship, you know. And that's the only job I remember doing for general quarters.
All right. And how long did you serve on
the White Plains? 2 years.
Plains. All right. When did you depart the ship? Month and year?
I think it was like October 1984.
Okay. All right. And after the White Plains, where did you serve?
New Jersey.
All right. So when you first found out you were being assigned to the USS New Jersey, especially when you talked about watching the whole World War II films, and now you get orders for a ship that actually served during that. What was your reaction?
Oh, well, I was really happy and excited because, you know, I read about New Jersey being the most decorated ship in World War II, and I volunteered for it. I asked the Navy to put me on that ship, and they gave me my orders to go, so that was really nice. It's not a lot of people have that opportunity to get where they want to go, you know. Sometimes they ship you out somewhere you don't want to go.
And when you first saw the New Jersey, where was it that you first saw her, and what was your reaction like to seeing her for the first time?
It was in our home port, Long Beach Naval Station, and I was surprised how big it was. You know, I didn't realize it was as big as one of our aircraft carriers. You know, we had back in that the Midway class, because that was the aircraft carrier that we was home ported in Japan, the USS Midway, and she was as big as a Midway almost. So that was pretty exciting.
All right. Describe in detail your main job on the New Jersey, your regular duty stations.
Basically, well, I moved up in rank and that, and so I was a supervisor. I had people working under me in First Division and first part, the brow area of the ship, and we had to make sure everything was ship shape, you know, and painted, and just like on my first ship, you know,
Right.
everything painted and properly, you know. We always had to shine brass. That was a big job, you know, because I guess if we had dignitaries come on, we had to make sure the ship looked really nice. So that was a big job we did. And then I was also pier sentry, so I would patrol the parking lot with the billy club, you know, because they didn't have no need for guns, you know, back in that era. So that was a job I did for
Did you ever have
7 months, I think.
Did you ever have the Holy Stone? Okay, got out of that one, huh?
Yeah. Then the other job we did was the teakwood decks. We would scrub them down. That was another big.
Oh, that's actually. I'm sorry. I should have been more specific. That's actually called holy stoning.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I apologize for not being more specific.
We did that quite a bit.
And what was the process to do that? To really get the teakwood sanded down and shined?
Well, basically, I don't remember too much about it, but it was all I remember is those big brushes, you know, like floor brushes, you could say, but they're on the long one where you go in order, you know, side by side and scrub it that way. That's how we did it.
All right. Now, talk about your general quarters station on the New Jersey, or general quarter stations.
Yeah, well, I was on 2 different ones. One time I was down in turret 1, because that's First Division's the first part of the ship, so I was in turret 1 powder room, you know, moving the powder and into where it's getting ready to be fired. And then also I did, I don't know how long, but we had to get the projectiles ready, you know, to be fired. So I did that. I moved those things heavy, you know, by hand. That's what we had to do then, you know. That's like over 110 pounds or more we had to lift. So I did that. And then my other duty station was up in the helm, driving the ship during general quarters.
Okay. Now, when you were in turret 1, were you on the powder flat, where you receive the powder bag before it goes up?
Yeah, that's where.
Okay. And describe that process. How did you know where the bag went? Who was directing you? Anything about that process that you remember?
Well, what I remember is the gunner's mates, you know, lecturing us on what to do. And if you hit, the main thing is to listen for those sirens, you know, because, you know, that shows that you got to load the projectile. And then, of course, we had to carry it, you know, to put in the powder into the projectile tube or whatever. And so that's what we had to do. We had to make sure we did it in the time they said, you know.
Do you remember how long you had?
No, I can't recall that.
All right. So let's talk about, well, first of all, was there anything else that you remember from your main job on board, general quarters, or watch stations you'd like to add?
But basically, like I said, I was a petty officer, third class by rank now, and I supervised, I believe it was 5 seaman recruits and E2s, to told them what needed to be done, as far as upkeep, on our first part of our ship,
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I did also was we did brought stores on the ship, because we had to do like a chain, carry stuff that way, because they didn't have elevators that I remember to bring stuff on, so we had to do that when we was in our home port, Long Beach, and that was a pretty tedious duty.
So when you say stores, just for clarification, you're talking about resupplying the ship with food and goods, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like from the freezers and stuff that have to be put on in the mess halls and stuff.
Okay. So when you were not on duty, what were some of the activities you would do? What was it like in general when you weren't on duty on board?
It was basically 9 to 4 job. When we was in our home port, Long Beach, and basically at 4 o'clock you would knock off work, and unless you had duty, ship duty, when everybody went ashore, and you basically had your own day to yourself. And so what I would usually do is I would go to my church, local church, First Baptist Long Beach, and I was a bus captain for the kids, getting the local kids on the buses. I would go visit them in their homes on Saturdays when I wasn't on duty, and a lot of activities at my church there, First Baptist Long Beach. And then I would also drive down to San Diego to visit other ships, when I was able to, and just to drive down there from Long Beach, it's like 100-some mile drive, so it was nice, kind of get your thoughts together. Then I remember going to the beaches down there in San Diego, and so that was what I did basically. And then I would be like, I'd go different places in the local area, Long Beach, tourism sites, places to visit there, and eat out when I had a chance,
Right.
at local restaurants.
All right. What about activities during your off-duty hours, like when the ship was out to sea, when you were deployed? What were some of the things you did to kill time before your duty?
Just basically did a lot of reading, writing letters, handwritten letters to friends and family.
All right.
And just chaplain, go to church services when they had them.
All right. Now, when you were on board, where was the ship's chapel located? Do you remember?
I believe it was above our mess deck. I don't remember seeing her when I toured her, but maybe it might have been by the captain's wardroom or something. I don't remember exactly where, but I know it was a big area. That's all I remember, because we had officers come. That's the only time really you seen the officers, unless they were attached to your division, So we'd get together. They would let officers and enlisted worship, together.
All right. Now, did you have any interactions with either Captain Milligan or Captain Glenn? And if you did, describe what that was like.
I think I might have went for Captain Milligan. I know one of the activities we had was like we had an actual we did plays, like different plays about the ship. I don't remember the name of but it was like an actual where we'd go do like once a month or so when we're ashore, like a little play, like that people could watch. And that's what I remember Captain Milligan for, and I think the other one maybe was Captain Glenn. I don't know.
Yeah, Captain Glenn.
Yeah, and then I think I got summoned up there one time to talk to him about some issue. I don't remember what it was, but I never got in trouble. I always did what I was told to do, so I never had captain's mast where you go in front and get prosecuted.
Right.
I'd say with the Navy.
And what was that like to just talk to Captain Glenn about ship's business? What was his demeanor? What can you remember about that?
He seemed pretty outgoing, same with Captain Milligan. I think he seemed pretty outgoing, like he wanted to tell you what was going on, and he was very friendly. I mean, not high and mighty like you would think they would be, being commander of the ship. They would like get down to your level, and if you had any problems, you could bring it up to them.
All right. Now, when did you disembark to New Jersey, and what was that like? Like, what were your feelings when you got the orders that you were moving on?
It was kind of sad, but I always wanted to go to Alaska. That's where my orders was, to ADEC, Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I didn't realize I wasn't going to be doing much in my rating when I went to Alaska, because it's way out in the Aleutian Islands. And but I did the important job of airfield standby when planes would come in and land, because the P-3s were based out of there, and they had to monitor the Russian Navy. And so we had an important job there, airfield firefighting ship.
All right. So go ahead and describe, you just gave us a nice overview. Go ahead and describe more about what you did in your duty station in Alaska. And I'll ask about the Soviet encounter a little bit.
We, well, I did like I said, being a boatswain is like a jack of all trades. In about 12 months or 6 months, I was in charge of the galley, because we would have other service groups come from land and that, and from the planes. We'd have to feed the whole, different enlisted people and officers too, from what I remember. So I had to keep the galley running ship shape and make sure things were clean, food was stocked and all that. And I was in charge of the people working in the kitchen. And then I did kitchen work myself, doing pans and that, washing them when they didn't have anybody else to do. But mostly it's just make sure things were running in order. And, on the food line, make sure food was stocked and drinks. And then my other part of my duty on that island was I worked on a tugboat for a couple months, as a seaman on the tugboat. And so we didn't go out that much, but like when people would ship off, the tug would go out. So I did that a little bit. But mostly I would say 80% of my duties on that station was airfield firefighting, So they gave us a little bit of training, fighting fires and stuff. And if a plane would crash, we would have to spray the retardant on, when the plane would catch fire or whatever. So that was an important job. So we had to do that training, how to shoot out the nozzle. So we did that a lot. And then I would, then on the side, I had a job in the Marine Corps hall, rec hall, in the bar, basically where the Marines were. So I had to do, my job there was cleaning it, janitorial, and I got paid for it, civilian pay. So it was like a little extra money on the side.
All right. Now, when did you arrive at that station and depart?
I believe it was, I don't know, can't recall, but I got off to New Jersey in '86, but I don't remember what month it was.
Mm-hmm.
But it was in '86. I went to ADAC after I had my 30 days leave in Honduras, and so I went there, and then I left there. It was an 18-month tour is what it was. It was a little odd tour, and then I believe it was October '87 I left ADAC for good, and I think it was '87 when I went on leave to Honduras, or '86, I just can't remember, but I requested to go to Honduras because I was writing a lady over there, and I wanted to see her family and meet her and stay with her family, so that's what I did. And
All right. After ADAC, what was your next duty station?
I got transferred. Well, see, I was hospitalized when I was in Honduras, and I got airlifted out of there, and that's when my rank, when I got sick, you could say, and they put me in the mental hospital there on Andrews Air Force Base. First, I went to the Navy hospital, but the Navy hospital didn't have facilities to help me, so transferred me to Andrews Air Force Base, and I was there at the hospital a year and a half. And then I got done with that and transferred to that National Naval Medical Center, Bethesda Medical Holding Company. I was there about 6 months and then got discharged out of the Navy. Honorable discharge.
And what year and month, what month and year were you discharged?
It was April 1988.
All right.
April 13th, exact date.
Okay. So let me jump back real quick about your assignment at ADAC. Did you have any encounters with the Soviet military? And if so, can you tell us about it?
Well, basically, they would send their Bear bombers spying on our bases and that, but never seen any Soviet Navy people up close, except on my first ship I was on, because we was tasked with the duty to monitor Soviet aircraft carriers, their only aircraft carrier they had, so they detached my ship to be the spy ship basically for our Navy, and we was following them wherever they went in the Indian Ocean, the Gulf of Aden, and for 10 days they gave us that duty, and that's when I seen Soviet. I think it was a civilian Soviet, because they were in a civilian helicopter, a little tiny helicopter, and they flew right by above our ship a little bit, and I was walking across the deck, and I looked up at them. I said, "What are these guys doing here?" And here they were spying. I was taking pictures of our ship, and I think they were with Russian intelligence, because it didn't look like they had military uniforms on. It looked like they were in civilian clothes.
All right.
So that was about the only contact I had with them.
All right. So let's talk about both your time on the New Jersey and on the White Plains. Describe some of your various ports of call. What were some of your favorites, and which ship were you on when you went to them? If if you went to the New Jersey and the White Plains, if you went to the same place, just general ports of call description.
Well, my first ship was called the Orient Express, because being a combat storage ship, we had to go from different ports that our allies owned to get supplies for our carrier strike groups deployed in the Indian Ocean. So we went to Singapore several times, Hong Kong. We went to Phuket, Thailand. We was the 5th Navy ship to dock in Phuket, Thailand, after we got off our Indian Ocean cruise. And we went to Pattaya Beach several times. And then then we went to Australia, Fremantle, Perth. And then we went to Shimoda, Japan. We was like a ceremonial ship in Shimoda, Japan, the Black Ship Festival, honoring when Oliver Hazard Perry landed in Japan. That's what we did. We represented the Navy for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to Sasebo, Japan a few times. and then we were going to go to India, but because of politics, we didn't make it over there. And when we, where else? I think there was another place we went. Oh, the Philippines. That was like our second home port, where we always Subic Bay base there, because that was the biggest base in the 7th Fleet area. So that's where we got our supplies to take out to sea for the battle group. So we was in Subic Bay several times. And where else? Masira Island. I was on land there in Oman, because Oman's a country that owned that, and I was on land for like 8 hours there working, being a forklift driver and gathering supplies, to be netted. Mm-hmm. And then we went to Muscat, Oman, but we weren't allowed to go ashore. They just docked our ship to get food items, and then we had to pull out. But my favorite place was Australia, Perth, Western Australia, because we was there 10 days, and that's the farthest we ever deployed too. It was South Pacific, way down there, after we did that deployment in the Indian Ocean. So we was there on leave and getting stuff offloaded to come back to our home port, Yokosuka, Japan. And my second favorite place was Pattaya Beach, Thailand, because it's like a beautiful resort area, beaches and that, and could kick back and relax. And then Singapore was one of my other favorite ports we visited. Mm-hmm. And I actually got to go to communist China too, because I went on a tour to Macau, and they said if you wanted to go to China, you could. And so I went there, crossed the border, had a passport, official passport, and they stamped it. I only stayed there in China for like maybe a day at the most, and I had to leave, come back to my ship. But that was an experience. Mm-hmm. And then on the New Jersey, the only port we really visited that I remember is San Diego, and then Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. That was my first time going to Pearl Harbor Navy base. And it wasn't what I thought it would be, Waikiki Beach and all like you see in the books.
Right.
It's a lot smaller, and I was really shocked to see it. And I didn't even get a tour of the Arizona. I was going to tour the Arizona, but I didn't make it. I just hit the beach. That's all I did.
Right.
That's about the only one I remember on the New Jersey, because after I left New Jersey, they made that round the world cruise almost, and went to Australia, all the cities in Australia, 1988.
Right.
So I was kind of sad I missed that deployment.
All right. Now, with either ship, did you ever go through the Panama Canal?
No.
All right. How about on either ship, did you ever cross the equator? And if so?
Yeah, we had to cross the line ceremony on the White Plains. Mm-hmm. And
Yeah, talk about that ceremony when you became what's known as a shellback.
Yeah, it was basically, he did some dirty stuff, you could say, did what they told you, and he was blindfolded. I remember he was blindfolded, and he had to go through all the trash heaps and like chutes and that. And it was just a funny, weird ceremony. But then they gave you a big certificate saying you crossed the equator, and that's all it basically meant. Showed you crossed the equator while he's at sea.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember getting whipped, with those fire hoses. That's the only thing I remember about it. It wasn't the most pleasant thing, but I took it, and being a deck ape like I was, it didn't really faze me too much.
All right. Now let's you already mentioned when you got out of the Navy. So let's talk about what have you done since getting out of the Navy as far as your career, jobs. Bring us up to date.
Yeah,
Our air to help maintain Battleship New Jersey's heating and air conditioning boundaries by closing all the content when entering and exiting the ship.
worked in the fisheries industry in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
Right after I got out, I was going to go to school in Alaska and study like forestry stuff, so I could be a park ranger, because that was what my second biggest goal in life, to be a national park ranger.
Mm-hmm.
But I never did that because I was on those ships, and so I was gone out to sea a lot, so I didn't really get a chance to study that field. And then I worked in the fisheries. Like I said, not too far from Adak, Alaska, Dutch Harbor, Alaska, and that's where I worked. I lived out there a couple years, worked there on a fishing trawler, trimming cod and halibut, like a factory assembly line, and wages were really, really good because he's out in the middle of nowhere, and so I made like close to $3,000 a month, tax free.
And this was the late 80s, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
right after I got out of the Navy, 88, 89, and then I was a taxi cab driver out there for about a month. I worked for the shipping receiving company, and I would go around to the housing because they had public, company housing, so I had to go around and collect trash from the company housing and janitorial work in the common areas. And my last job there was at a store, that would sell stuff to fishing boats, so I did that. And then I lived in a tiny town called Girdwood, Alaska, and I worked for this lady that had a bed and breakfast, so I had to make sure food was cooked for the guests, and that I had my own private cabin, and so it was really nice, but it was just too much darkness because it was in the winter mostly, and end of summer, so it was dark and dreary, so that's why I left Alaska and moved to Michigan, and moved with my family, and I had to wait 2 years to get my first veteran check, because I got out on service-connected conditions, so I got paid from the VA first check 2 years after I got out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I worked, when I lived in Michigan, I worked a lot of different jobs, mostly restaurant jobs and janitorial, and that's about it.
Okay.
Then I moved down here moved to Ohio after I sold my trailer in Michigan. But in the meantime, I was hospitalized like several times in government VA hospitals in Michigan because my mental status wasn't the best, and so I got that stabilized in good condition, and Then I was awarded the state of Michigan because the VA canceled my checks and had to have a guardian. So I was in that court field for 16 years. My rights were gone. I couldn't go anywhere except where my guardians allowed me to go. And so it's kind of a restricted area, but taught me a lot how to be more responsible with my money and pay my bills the right way. And then I was always active in my church, bus ministry and stuff.
Okay. All right. So, is this the first time coming back to the New Jersey?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what was your reaction when you first saw her coming up to the pier? And then talk about what it was like to tour her. This is the second day of your first time back. Just talk about that shortly. Your reaction to seeing her for the first time again, and then touring the ship. Just talk about the experience.
Oh, it was great. I didn't have to come here in the winter, but I wanted to because I wanted to buy some, souvenirs so I could take them back, to my family and friends. And I wasn't able to buy all the stuff I wanted to buy today at the gift shop, but I was glad I was able to do that. But it was awesome because it brought back memories and seeing the old teakwood decks and how the ship's still built the same way it always has been, with all the compartments intact and everything. So the only difference is the ship's docked permanently. But it was neat, awesome to come back, and the way I was treated, kind of took people by surprise, me coming. But like I was telling, I think I told you, or the guy at the ticket office, that I tried to get in touch with Ryan Szymanski, tell him I was going to be in the area and I want to visit my ship, but he never returned my calls. So
Yeah. Ryan is on a assignment at
somewhere else.
They're actually recording. I forget the name of the ship for future records, which kind of is bad. But they're recording the mothballing of a destroyer that was recently decommissioned to put in the reserves, and they're in Texas doing that. So that's why I wasn't able to get back to you.
Because I wanted to meet him in person and talk to him and tell him that I was in deck department and see how he react. I don't know if he got my messages or not.
All right. So
I see him on YouTube all the time. I watch YouTube's videos about our ship. It's a lot of them new info I never knew much about our ship.
Right. And then the final question is, what impact on your life did naval service have for you?
Basically taught me to be a man. Respect other people's culture to the best of your ability, by traveling overseas, different countries where I went in the Navy. And, my benefits I get, being in the Navy, that was a blessing. To know that your whole time you was in, you could have 30 days paid vacation and not have to worry about punching a clock, and you get paid, your regular pay. And then the travel, that's what I loved the most about the Navy, places I visited, because I think I'm more like got the travel bug in me, because it's one of my goals in life is to travel the world, the areas that are safe. Some places I don't really have desire to go, like Africa, but I want to tour South America, countries down there. That's on my bucket list. And Europe, countries in Europe that I'll be allowed to go to. And I want to go back to Japan, where I was stationed, and Thailand, and the Philippines, and see how things are, nowadays. But I'll be, if you want to get something done, you have to do it yourself mostly, You got people to help you, but you're basically on your own, and You gotta make sure you're in good order and stay out of trouble. And now I'm glad I got my full benefits so I can go to any military base now, being service connected. And, you know, my ID card's indefinite expiration date, so probably till I pass away I can do that. So, and then you could fly on military hops, you know, when they have them available, so that makes it nice. Cheaper to fly places, you know. Instead of paying the big money on a commercial flight, I could fly a military hop when they're allowing people to do that, which I don't know what the status is now on that. If they brought that back, or because of the pandemic it's not allowed yet, or I know they still have space-safe flights, but I don't know anything about them too much.
All right. Anything else?
Then I just wanted to say, for people who don't know much about Ohio, come and check out my state. It's a good state, good people, veteran friendly, and my town's got a lot of football tradition. So Massillon, City of Champions they call it. I'm proud to be in my hometown after so many years being gone. And then the NFL Hall of Fame is in Canton, Ohio. So people want to know more about professional football history, come to Canton.
All right. Well, thank you for your service and taking time to join us. This concludes our interview. Again, my name is Angelo Pizzullo, manager of the Oral History Program on board the Battleship New Jersey in Camden, New Jersey. Today is Tuesday, December 7th, 2021. Our interview guest was Michael Mitchell from Massillon, Ohio. This recording and any transcripts, abstracts, or indexes made from the recordings will be stored in the Oral History Department of the Battleship New Jersey, the Library of Congress Veterans History Project, and the New Jersey State Library System. All recordings will be made available to writers, researchers, teachers, and historians. And this is Angelo Pizzullo signing off.